You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Downloadable audio episodes can be found on the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, entrepreneur. That was tough to say that word, right? Author, speaker, and helpful coach to small business owners across the country. And today we are welcoming / preparing to learn from Eric Melchor. I should have asked you how to pronounce your last name before I even started this thing, but hopefully I did okay.
No, that's correct. Melchor. Yeah.
Right. Of OptiMonk. And Eric is currently in the marketing world, but it sounds like Eric has had quite the story. So Eric, let's start with how are you doing today?
I'm feeling pretty good. Thanks for having me on the show, James.
Thanks for being on the show. Now, I have to apologize because I didn't realize that you were not stateside. So I feel like, is this 2 a.m. where you are? I don't even know.
No. It's 9:30 p.m. Not too late. The kids are in bed. They're asleep, so we're good.
All right. Well, cool. I appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah.
So let's start with what is OptiMonk?
Yeah. Well, OptiMonk is a website personalization platform. We basically give marketers and brands the tools. It's like Amazon-like superpower tools that allow you to give personalized experiences, so that way you can communicate the right message, the right offer, or the right next step to any kind of visitor that you get on your website. That could be a new visitor, maybe a repeat visitor, maybe a visitor that has a coupon, or a visitor that made a previous purchase. All kinds of different segmentation that you can do. We make it pretty easy. I mean, you don't have to have any coding experience or an expansive IT team. Basically, it's a drag and drop interface. And we'll give you a tactical library on how to implement all these personalization strategies and tactics as well.
All right. Can you give me a quick example of like the best example of a customer or client of yours that uses this, what they use it for?
Yeah. So here's one. We have one client called, they're US-based retailer called Woodhouse Clothing. And they get about 1/3 of their traffic internationally. So they use this for giving a personalized experience to their international visitors because they notice a lot of their international visitors had a high bounce rate and low conversions rate. And so what they discovered was that even though they were getting this international traffic, they just weren't completing the purchase order. So what they did is that if a visitor came like from Germany, for example, they would greet them with like a very small message that said, "Welcome, from Germany, we ship to your location. All of the prices include your local currency and include taxes. And by the way, if you spend more than, 100 euro, then all shipping is free," right? Just by having that little message there at the very beginning for all of their international traffic, they were able to increase like their revenue like by 20% just from implementing that little personalization tactic.
All right. When you say message, we're not talking necessarily typed. It's a video. Is that right?
Well, no, it's actually like a little side message that is like on the sidebar of the web page.
Okay.
And so as the person scrolls up or down the web page, it's right there. And so it's not completely in your face. However, we do give you functionality to where you can make that message like a teaser, or you can make it like a little pop-up, or a full screen, or even dynamic content. So you can embed it on your web page. And it looks like it's just part of the messaging on your web page, but it's actually embedded dynamic content.
Interesting. So it's based on where the person is or how often they scroll or some like triggers of some kind.
Absolutely. You can go in the background and design when and where you want this trigger and how do you want it triggered.
All right. And tell me, how long have you been with OptiMonk?
I've been with OptiMonk, about a year. So I moved to Europe about 2 years ago, and I discovered the platform. I first got into personalization when I moved here, working for another personalization company that specialized in personalized videos. And I loved it. They're called Bonjoro, and it's a great personalized experience, greeting and onboarding and welcoming customers with a personalized video. OptiMonk has the same sort of mission and values, except that we're trying to give all of your visitors that type of experience in real time on your website.
All right. And are there certain websites that you work better for? Is it all e-commerce type stuff or?
We're mostly e-commerce known. We've got tight integrations with Shopify, Klaviyo, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, Magento. I think more than 50 different integrations with CRMs. But there are some B2B companies that are using us. We were surprised to learn that, and we wondered why. And when we started speaking with them, they realized that every visitor is very important that comes to their website. And so they use some of our tactics and capabilities to really personalize that experience so they get the most out of that visit when they come to their website. So one example is there's a company called OmniConvert. And if you go to their website and you're there for a few seconds, there's a little message that appears and just says, "Hi there, we want we welcome you and we want you to get the most out of this visit. Can you tell us, what is troubling, or no, what industry are you in? Are you from an agency? Are you from an e-commerce background? Are you from a lead generation background or other?" And then based on your response, they personalize the next part of the journey for you. And so
All
that's
right.
what a lot of B2B companies are doing, because they realize that with cookies not being tracked through Apple iOS anymore, and it's just getting much harder for the cost per acquisition increasing like on Facebook, that it really just makes sense to get zero-party data, which is asking the customer directly, how can we help you? What are your pain points?
It's so interesting that you say that, because I remember the promise of digital marketing, let's say in the neighborhood of a decade ago, maybe a little less than that, when the world made it sound like we're going to be able to tell you exactly who was on your website, why they were on your website, what pages they went to, the time, scrolling, where they were at the time, even like how many times they blinked, where their mouse was,
Yeah,
all this data that you could use to just optimize your website to be the best website it possibly can be. One, to be found, and then two, to answer the questions. And eventually, I mentioned for a lot of websites that we care about this stuff, sell the visitor
yeah,
on whatever widget or service that we're selling.
yeah.
And I
No,
remember
that is,
getting the ads for the search engines, ads eventually as social media came around there. And that promise I've never seen delivered. It was
yeah,
always like, some people came, we don't even know if they're human. They could be bots for all we know.
yeah. That's so true. I mean, Google Analytics, it's going to tell you. People think that it tells you where your traffic comes from, but the truth is, it doesn't tell you if they came from like a podcast, or what was the name of the podcast, or if they came from an influencer, right? It doesn't tell you everything. And so you're never going to be able to deliver a completely personalized experience on the internet. Now, you may know the source of where they came from based on IP. You may know if it was like a certain media channel, if they came from Instagram or Facebook, or maybe even a Google paid media ad. But for a big majority of your visitors, maybe even 50%, you don't know anything about them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where it makes sense to try to start these micro engagements with them. And what I mean by these micro engagements is just asking like a very basic question. If you're an e-commerce site, hey, are you shopping for yourself or for someone else? Right? We just had Valentine's Day. A lot of people went online to go buy gifts, I'm sure. And if you're a site that gets a lot of seasonal traffic, that's a very simple question that you can ask. And if the person responds by saying, hey, I'm shopping for someone else, fantastic. Here's our most popular giftable items right now, and
Oh, nice.
take them to the part of the website that's most valuable for them, right? I mean, time is precious. Why have them mess around on your website when you can deliver the next logical choice that makes sense for them?
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So it sounds like you guys are essentially marketing for the people to refine the message once visitors get on the site. Is that safe to say?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're doing paid advertising, right, we want to make sure that you get the best return on investment you can. So based on whatever ad that they're clicking on, whatever value propositions that you are promoting through your ads, when they get to the website, that headline is aligned with the value proposition on the ad, right? So we show you how to do that. Now, if you don't know where that visitor is coming from, that's where we have these, what we call conversational messaging or conversational pop-ups. And so if you're like a health and wellness site and the three main products that you sell are how to lose weight, how to gain muscle, how to sleep better, then it makes sense to ask the person in the very beginning, what's troubling you, gain muscle, lose weight, sleep better. And depending on their answer, you can say, fantastic, you want to gain muscle? here's our top articles on how to gain muscle. By the way, here's our best-selling products on how to gain muscle, right? And so you take them to the part of the website, you take their hand, say, here you go, here's what you're really looking for. And after they've answered, depending on who you're integrated with, we can tag them. And we can feed that information, for example, if you're using Klaviyo, we can feed that information back to Klaviyo. And so that way, if they subscribe and enter an email, now you can begin the segmentation part when it comes to email marketing based on some of the responses that they gave on the website through conversational pop-ups.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So if they want to grow a muscle or whatever, you get their email address, then your newsletter or whatever email that you want to send them can be geared towards that versus better sleep.
Exactly.
They're thinking, I sleep just fine.
Exactly. Yeah,
Huh.
exactly. I mean, we're saying, hey, take the long-term approach. Instead of trying to go for the quick win by pull information, by trying to get their email address very quickly or their SMS, because that's what you see a lot of marketers do nowadays. They've been so programmed to say, hey, here's a 10% off coupon, give us your email address, okay? We're saying, hey, that's a bad experience, right? Sure, you may get the email address, but are they going to be clicking, are they going to be opening your emails? Are they going to be clicking on them? Probably not, right? So deliver value, deliver education, deliver a good experience. And in the long run, when they are purchase ready, they're going to buy from you because they're going to know you have the right product for them, that you've been servicing the right information, the right education for them, and that you're not trying to pull information very quickly. I mean, take the long-term approach. That's what we believe in.
All right. Tell me with these, I want to say form, but I guess it's actually just a question pop up thing, like essentially asking, what are you here for? What is a typical percentage for the number of people that are actually clicking on that or responding to that question versus just hitting the X, moving on with their life?
Yeah.
Or anything else other than answering that question?
Significantly higher, usually 12 to 15%. And this is much higher than your typical email subscription pop-up. That's usually around 2 to 3%, right?
Oh, all right.
So if you if you start the conversation through a pop-up and you get like a 12% conversion rate on that, and then after they respond and you say, fantastic, would you like to receive our, top 10 ways on how to get better sleep, into your email address right here. And so that conversion rate for the email ask is usually about 25 to 30%. So you're actually doubling your email subscription rates versus if you would have just had a standard welcome email that says, or welcome pop-up message that says, here's 10% off coupon, give us your email address.
Interesting. That is way higher than I would have anticipated.
Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of brands who are very successful, Wink.com, they are a wine subscription platform. They actually have email subscription rates that are like in the 60 to 70%. If you go through their journey, it's a lot of fun, actually. I mean, you go there, there's like 5 questions. The first one is kind of basic, like, do you prefer white wine or red wine or both? And then the second one is a funny question. It says, some lunatic mixed peanut M&Ms and Skittles together in a bowl. Which ones do you pick out, right?
Oh,
and then
funny.
then it asks you like, do you like Mexican food or Japanese food or sushi, right? It's trying to get like your taste buds and your flavors so it can pair you with the type of wine.
Oh, I was trying to think like they got to be hidden towards something. I'm not sure what it is, but that makes sense now that you say it. Okay.
Yeah. So after they've discovered or they matched you with what's the wine that you would probably prefer, at the very end it says, fantastic, we have your custom wine box ready to show you. If you'd like to see it, just let us know if you're legal drinking age and enter your email right here.
Wow. All right. So that's an entertaining funnel. And I imagine just for the product itself, it's more, I was going to say a need versus a want kind of thing, but maybe there's some people that actually need their wine. I don't know, but it's something that's more fun rather than like, oh, I got to go buy some socks or whatever. I don't know. There probably is a sock of the month club I don't know about, but yeah, I guess you know what I mean. Like if you're shopping for wine, you probably have a glass in your hand.
I think there's a subscription box out there for everybody, James. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a sock subscription box.
The gift that keeps on giving. All good. All good. So you had a story essentially talking about how like you're not you were born stateside, right?
Yep. Born and raised in Houston, Texas.
All right. And you ended up on the other side of the pond just for fun, it sounds like, right?
Well, kind of. I actually came here 15 years ago for 1 year for a contract role working for the largest media agency based out of Romania. I had been living in New York City at the time, and I was there for about 7 years, but I didn't want to go back home to Houston. So when I saw this opportunity, I'm a little bit adventurous, James. And so I thought, hey, for 1 year, I've done a lot of traveling. I visited a lot of places. I enjoy traveling. So I thought this would be sort of an adventure. And I came here for 1 year, had a great time, and I ended up meeting or falling in love with a girl that worked in the same building.
Oh,
And
wow.
I came back to Houston, but we were still in touch through Skype and instant messaging. I ended up coming back to visit her, and I convinced her to move to Houston. I told her it's this beautiful cosmopolitan city. I tried to like paint this picture that I was very European-like. I even bought her this used Aprilia scooter
Ah, that's awesome.
so she could drive around in. And I bought a condominium in downtown Houston because it's like the only walkable part of the city. And she ended up coming, and everything worked out. I mean, we knew it was going to work out, and we ended up getting married, having a couple of kids. And we talked about moving back here to Romania so that our kids could get to know her side of the family. And it already had been almost 10 years since she left. And since I lived here and I enjoyed it, it wasn't like this was going to be a big shock or surprise for me. And so when COVID happened and we were trying to juggle work and raising a newborn and a 3-year-old at the same time,
Oh,
it
wow.
just wasn't working out. I mean, it's like, okay, whoever doesn't have a meeting right now watches the kids. And our life was miserable when COVID first hit. And my parents were still working. They weren't retired yet. The daycares were closed. And so we thought, hey, maybe now's a good time to go back to Romania because her parents were retired. They could help out. And that was we had been talking about it, but it just seemed like if we're going to do it, I think now's a good time. Everybody's working remote anyway. So
Hmm.
we made the decision to do it. We thought that it would take a long time to get everything done, but we listed our home for rent, and unbelievably, we thought it was going to take a while. But the first day, I think there was like 12 applicants. 3 of them wrote us letters, and 2 of those letters, people offering more than what we were asking. And so that was the easy part. We
Wow.
thought we thought that was going to be hard, but no, renting out our home was quite easy, and we sold our cars pretty quickly, and we were ready to go. The only thing that we were delayed on was getting our newborn's passport because they were delayed. And so we were just waiting on that to come in. But finally, once it did come in, we made the transition here, and it's worked out.
All right. You raised a few interesting points here, and this is entertaining for me because I love travel. I love talking to people that travel. But I didn't even know newborns needed passports. That's kind of funny. I suppose they're human. I don't know. Is there a cutoff or just like that umbilical cord is cut, buddy? You're your own separate being now, or
Yeah, no, I think they do. I mean, if you're leaving the country, I think maybe if you go to Mexico or Canada, you can get by on the birth certificate, but anywhere else, they need a passport.
wow. Okay. I don't know
Yeah.
what I thought the age would be, but fresh out of the oven, it was not that age, I guess.
Yeah, I think we were at the post office taking a picture of her when she was like 2 months old, and
Ah,
typically it takes like 4 weeks, but I think it took 12 weeks to get it.
wow. And they keep telling the baby not to smile, right? Don't smile. Look like
Yeah,
a serial killer for the photo.
yeah,
Tell
something
me,
like that.
so I just love this whole moving thing because that is something that I'm envious of you there because I keep talking to my wife about us moving somewhere else and she's happy where she's at, very static.
Yeah.
Which kudos to her. We have a good thing going here, so there's no reason to change that. But it's a small world, and I'd love to see it. So when
Yeah.
you sell your cars, you rent out your place, that is not a light switch. Like it's not just like the house is rented and our plane tickets are going now, or like we sold the car at 3, we rent the apartment out at 4,
Yeah.
sold all their furniture at 5, we're good to go.
Yeah.
How did that work with the transition?
Well, the big decisions were really the health aspects. Dude, let's get all the records for the kids, all of the the shots that they've had. Our daughter, she has club foot, so she has to get treatment or has, a special treatment every few weeks for a doctor to look at. So that was a big thing for us. And so once we were able to get, all of the medical records and get that underway, the second thing was hiring the company that can move a lot of our stuff over there. And
Oh, you did
so
move a lot of your stuff.
we vetted some shipping companies. We just
All right.
did boxes. We didn't take big things like sofa or bed. I mean, we just took mostly clothes, some books. You're really surprised. I didn't realize I had so many books, but they just accumulate over time.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I think we had like maybe 25 boxes, and the rest of the stuff that we sold. I mean, we were selling stuff like on the Facebook, the community or Facebook neighborhood. My wife was doing that. And we literally would just put stuff right outside the front door and just instruct people to leave money underneath the mat. And even like things like vases or, toasters or stuff like that, right? And then my family, if they wanted something, we gave it to them, or, they bought it really cheap or whatever. So I think over 2 months, we got rid of pretty much everything, but, you at bargain prices. I mean,
Sure.
our goal was just to get rid of it.
Just get rid of it.
We got rid of it, and then we moved into, my dad had bought a large house, and so he had 3 extra rooms, and we stayed in there until we got the passport, because we had our renters that were coming in. And yeah, we were there for a few weeks waiting on the passport
All right.
before we moved here. Yeah.
Nice. So when you had the same job initially in the States, I guess right before you moved, and then you carried that job over?
No, no. So during the job, COVID happens, right? I'm a director for a publicly traded company in the States, and I'm making really good money, it's more than 6 figures. And the first call that we had with the CEO, and I was part of the leadership team, he tells everybody, we're good, nobody's going to get let go, in case people are worried. We're in a good position right now. And so I felt pretty good after that. And about 3 days later, I get on a call with my boss. And as soon as I jump on the call with them, he says, Eric, I've also got HR here with me too. And
Oh,
so
no.
I was one of, I
Not a
think
good
there was,
person to share a Zoom with.
no. So I think I was like, I don't know, the first wave. I was part of the first wave, got laid off. And I had, I had a compensation package, the best compensation package I've ever had in my career, and it was 6 months. And so 6 months compensation package. And what I did though, James, was that even though I got a 6 month salary, the banks at that time, the mortgages lenders basically said, if you're impacted from getting laid off, you can suspend your mortgage payments.
Oh,
And
all right.
so I suspended our mortgage payments for about 6 months. And I think I did the same thing with my student loan. And daycare was closed. And so instead of paying, I think the daycare cost was like $1,300 a month per kid. And so we weren't paying that. I didn't have a mortgage. And I had all this, extra money, and I invested in it. And so
No,
I
we're
took,
talking March, April? What
this is,
month of?
yeah, this is March, April. And so
Okay.
March,
Because we're
basically,
talking February investing, you had a bad day. March, you
yeah.
had a good day.
So April, basically, I guess April, for about 5 good months, I took that money that from my salary, and I put it all in investment.
Nice.
And at that time, I'm sure you probably remember, this is back in 2020, I guess, but late 2020, early 2021, this all the stocks just went up. I
Oh my
mean,
God. Crazy. Psycho.
crazy.
We're recovering
James,
from that now.
James, I turned literally, I think $70,000 at one point. I kid you not, at one point, all of my investments hit, I think $496,000.
Wow.
I'll never forget it. I was like a day trader. I was checking my Yahoo stocks on my phone here in Bucharest every 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I didn't even have a job. I moved here. I didn't know anybody, I didn't
Yeah.
have a job. We're and it was a really bad point in terms of our life and our situation, because when you don't have a job, it impacts you.
Mm-hmm.
We had gone from a 2,000 square foot home into this 1,000 square foot condominium. And, our daughter was here, even though our son was in daycare. And, there's just a lot of people with my mother-in-law here. And it was just kind of a bad situation. But I had this one good thing in my life that was going on. And that was like, hey, I'm
Yeah,
making a
right.
lot of money here.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But you know what? This is what being a novice is. A novice is not knowing when to sell.
I was just
And
gonna ask you, did you pull the chute or I
I
mean, you don't
didn't.
know. You think you're on top of the world.
You're on
You got
top.
it all figured out.
You got it all figured out. I'm already calculating, oh shit, I'm gonna let this ride another couple of years so that way, it becomes a million and I'll buy,
Yeah.
the great house over here and
What
pay off
color
some
yacht do you
debt.
want?
It's- I think I don't know if us men do that, but we start planning these things, like a year from now based on our projections of where we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna be monetarily and everything. And so I was doing a lot of that and I was feeling pretty good. But obviously, if something goes up, it's going to go down. And it started going down and going down and going down. But again, I was a novice and I never sowed it. And so now that that 496K, it's substantially lower. I don't even look anymore. I don't even look anymore because when I did look, I was getting, depressed and getting down. But now I realize, you know what, that was just like easy money that was in the past. I got to
Mm-hmm.
just let that go. And I got to focus on what's good in my life right now. And what's good in my life right now is my family, my
Mm-hmm.
health, and I've got a great role that I'm in right now, and loving the position that I'm in. I'm loving the podcast that I created. I'm loving some of the friendships and relationships I've been developing over here since I moved here,
Yeah.
and I'm just loving being, the best husband and father that I can be. I've got a very good life here, and that's hey, you live and you learn. If I'm ever in that situation again, I don't think I will be, but I learned the lesson that I think once you start bragging about a stock, that's probably when it's time to sell
Oh, there you go. There you go. Very
it.
it's just Bitcoin, Tesla. I'm thinking all this stuff. It's
Yeah.
interesting. I had a similar situation, but there was a chunk that I pulled out in time, not from my knowledge about the stock market. Is purely
Okay.
because I needed down payment for a commercial building that I threw some money on. So I pulled the money out October of 20. I'm trying to think exactly when that was. Whenever it was like the peak of the market. I
Yeah.
pull a chunk of money out and the market tanks. And
Oh
we're still
man.
recovering from that. And I looked at that even the other day. I looked at that and you look at the graph and I'm like, that looks like I'm a genius. I'm not a genius. No one that I know of, no one that I've even read about, could have predicted all that's going on with the market.
Yeah.
To know to pull out. Like that was pure dumb luck. I'm so thankful for that luck.
Yeah.
But it's one of those like you just feel like every once in a while the universe is like, let's throw him a bone.
Yeah.
Let's throw him a
Yeah.
bone.
Yeah. No, I wish there was an apartment we were looking at, or I was looking at, and it was a new development, and I think they wanted something like, I don't know, 200,000 euro for it. And I thought it was in a great location. And I convinced my wife, let's go look at it. And I told her, let's buy it. But she wasn't happy with it. She did not want it. And because she wasn't really happy with me going forward, I decided not to go forward. But if she was happy for it, I would have sold a chunk of that money, and I basically would have at least had an asset. And now
Oh,
and and
sure,
and, and now I have nothing.
sure. Chalk it up to experience and move on, right? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So is the plan now for you to stay in Bucharest and keep working with OptiMonk, or is it travel the world even more? I guess what's the game plan?
Yeah, no, that is the game plan right now. I mean, with OptiMonk, I met Shaba. He was a guest on my podcast because I interview startup founders based out of Europe,
Oh, nice.
and we had a really good episode recording, and we stayed in touch. And I guess he had been seeing my content or my post on LinkedIn because I became more consistent with my posting, and he learned that I was actually going to be looking for a new role. And so, he said, Eric, I want to tell you about my vision for OptiMonk. What's the roadmap for the next 7 years? My goal is to turn this into a unicorn. Here's how we're going to do it. And I thought, it was just a platform that helped e-commerce companies, get more subscribers through pop-ups. And when he showed me that the new personalization platform was rolling out, that's when I got very interested and exciting. And he was showing me, like, on Google Trends, how website personalization is trending up and up and up, and then all these projections and analysts and new companies that are coming out, based on personalization.
Mm-hmm.
That really, I guess you would say, it really sold me. But it wasn't so much just the company; it was just him as a person. I mean, he was just a very authentic, genuine. You could tell he had a lot of inspiration as a leader, and a very nice person. So it was really the first role I've ever gotten where I didn't have to submit my resume or interview.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
he simply knew me because of my podcasts.
All right.
And so when we designed the role, it was really a role that, we kind of collaborated together. We thought, what could this look like based on, what is it that we want to do? And so now for OptiMonk, there's like 3 big projects that I'm immersed in, and I feel like I have an essential role in trying to make this vision a reality, for the company. So I'm really invested in it. I've got a little bit of equity and a decent salary. The salary doesn't compare to anything that I made in the States, but I don't think any salary for a SaaS company out of Europe is going to compare to what anybody was making in the States. But it's a great role. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, it's a role that I don't even really consider it work. I mean, it is work,
No, I get you.
but it's like when people say, like, it's not work when you love what you do. And I can
Mm-hmm.
honestly say that it's not, it's probably like a 9 out of 10. And I don't think a lot of people even have like a 7 out of 10 job. So
No,
this is
many
pretty
probably
good.
don't even have a 4, or they wouldn't even know what to look for, or I guess even the trap that I was in. I mean, we're talking 20 years ago. I didn't know. Like, I heard that do what you love and you'll be happy the rest of your life, or you won't consider it work or whatever. And I mean, the jobs that I had,
What-
I knew that they were jobs, and it was trading time for money. And you couldn't, there was, I don't want to say no joy, but I felt like if I just change my perspective, I'll be happy enough.
Yeah,
And I didn't know that you can design your own job is what it comes down to. Design your career, lifestyle, all that jazz. I didn't
yeah.
even know that was an option. Didn't even know.
It's not. As a kid, I wasn't even taught that. I mean, my parents were just like, go to school, get a good job, and that was it. They never instilled like, hey, try to do what you're passionate about, and try to like really go and pick a career that you're going to really, really immerse yourself into with your creativity and your talent and everything. That was never really instilled inside of me. But what was your first role that you felt like, hey, I'm getting really a lot of good enjoyment? Was it for an employer or was it for yourself?
No, it was for myself. I
Yeah.
mean, a strong argument could be made when I worked at a movie theater. And that was only because the people that I worked with were so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so much fun because when it's like, this is back in the day when we had popcorn, soda, and candy. There was no pizza, nachos, beer, none of that. There were no recliners. You had stadium typical seats
Yeah.
that had a cushion ish on them. Like, it's a different world back then. Dolby had just come out. Like, to put you, IMAX was like, there's 3 of those in the country kind of thing. They weren't every corner.
Yeah.
So it's just a different world back then. So I say that to say there were times when you're just hustling. I mean, you can't work fast enough. And I think when I started there, I think I was making 385 an hour. Like, nothing.
Yeah.
And then like all the people go to their movie theater and watch their movie. So now we have essentially nothing to do. Maybe not if you ask the boss. We don't have a whole lot to do, right? You got time to clean, you got time to clean, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so we would just hang out, chat. It was just like you're hanging out with your friends. And then, like, that was 7 o'clock show, right? They came and went. Now we got 9 o'clock show coming.
Yeah.
So you prep, you get everything done, and you get good at it, and the people that you're with are good at it. And so you got to system down. So what would take some people an hour to do, we're knocking out in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Just because it's a smooth system. I can still remember it. This reminds me, I was working at the movie theater. We have this circular concession stand. So the concession people selling stuff like that, me included, are in the middle, and then we're surrounded by people. And I think Lion King had come out, and Lion King was like, whoa, right? Everybody in the world wants to see that movie 20 times.
Yeah.
So our lobby was packed, and we have this butter machine because heaven forbid they put real butter on it. You have this, I don't know what it is, oil stuff.
Yeah.
We have a heater with a little pump that you pump on the popcorn. And we, for whatever reason, we weren't smart enough to wrap the cord, like tie it somewhere to the outlet. So the
Okay.
cord would drape. So I would always, and it was right in front of this popcorn drawer where you open up the drawer to get the seeds to throw the popcorn. So there's a system, right? Popcorn popper's done. You got to get more seeds in there. You open the drawer, you put it in there, flip the lid, move on with your life. Well, somebody happened to drape the cord in front of that drawer. So I yanked that drawer in the middle of this busy night, and that butter thing, this hot, oily butter thing, was flying all over the floor. And I was so, first, there's like 27 emotions rolling through you, right?
Yeah.
First, you're just angry, you're livid. And then you're like, this is kind of funny. And then you're like, who's the moron that put the cord in front of the drawer? And just all this is going through you. But the funniest thing was the crowd, like they saw what happened. So now they're starting to laugh. There's clapping, like, thanks guys. Really, that's helping a lot. It's interesting because those moments when you're making, like, I think I went to lunch the other day and I probably spent more on just a regular old lunch than I made in 4 hours working that job.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It was fun. The people, except for whoever put that cord in front of the popcorn drawer, I hope they're in hell right now. But I mean, maybe not. That's me. It's one of those things where you're just like, that was cool. I almost, most days, I look forward to going to work. The jobs that I had besides that one, I can't say that. Until I started my own business, I can't. No, I would love to, but.
Yeah. No, it's always great when you work with people you love. I got 2 friends hired at a restaurant that I worked at in Houston. And it's actually similar to what your experience is because we had these waves of people. It was in the theater district. And so at 6 p.m., restaurant just gets packed. Within like 15 minutes, all the tables are filled. Then they all leave, usually 7:45 because the show started at 8.
Oh, sure.
And then it's practically empty for like 2 hours until the shows get out and people are coming back in for like dessert or drink or whatever. And so it's pretty quiet in between, these waves that would happen. But it was just a great experience because I had my friends there, and I was a moron too one time where we had these guests. They weren't from the States. They didn't speak English. And you know how some restaurants, when they have those displays of desserts in the front, and those are usually the fake desserts.
All right.
Well, I was at the computer trying to print out a check, and I put the real dessert plate down. And when I printed out the check and I put it in the book, I mistakenly picked up the fake dessert that was identical.
Okay.
And I served it to them. And I remember going back like 10 minutes later to pick it up. And I noticed that the cake was eaten, because the cake was real. It was just a few days old, I think. But when I took the plate back and I put it in the little tub for the dishwasher, and I remember putting the plate at an angle, and I noticed that the ice cream didn't slide. And I went back and looked, and while I'm looking, the kitchen staff, somebody from the kitchen staff, she notices too, and she realizes what happened. She realizes, holy shit, Eric gave that plate to a table because that ice cream was Crisco, right? It was Crisco, And so I couldn't believe I made that mistake, James. And so I went back to the table. The people already paid their bill and left. They didn't complain because they didn't speak English, right? But I had given them the fake dessert, the one that was like 3 days old. And when I come back in the kitchen, the entire kitchen is laughing. And the manager comes out and he's like, what's going on? And the kitchen staff, they're just like laughing and pointing at me. And, I was a pretty good waiter. So, Chris, the manager, was like, Eric, what happened? What are they laughing at? I'm like, oh, nothing.
Ain't no thing.
I was just joking with them.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Oh my God. That was my biggest moron experience as a
So
waiter.
that's why we have Europeans complaining about American food. They're like, even their ice cream is weird. I don't even know. Don't eat there. Don't eat there. Oh, that's funny. That is cool.
Yeah.
Chalk it up to experience and move on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Eric, tell me, OptiMonk, you've been with them a little over a year, and you've seen changes in marketing and stuff like that. The web, I guess, I mean, Chat GPT, all this AI stuff coming around. Is that a tool? I mean, AI universally, is that a tool that will help you guys, or is that going to be a competitor to what you have going on?
We are starting to invest more in AI. It's actually in our roadmap right now over the next 3 years to do a lot of investing in AI. We're actually rolling out our first AI component, and that is basically a subject line recommendation based on AI.
Oh,
I'm sorry, not subject line, but headline.
okay.
And so if you have different landing pages and you're not really sure of what the headline or subheadline could be, you could use our little tool in there, and it'll make some recommendations based on AI assistance, and it will automatically A/B test different headlines for you.
All right.
So that's the first, AI little component that we have, but we're going to be rolling out more AI stuff. So it's not really a competitor to us as it is to other marketing channels, like coming up with different ads or summaries or things like that. We're trying to figure out how can we incorporate it into our tools so that our users and ourselves can take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting world. The interesting part, I guess, is it's a powerful tool. But the other interesting part, you mentioned even with the headlines, I wonder what, I guess to me, it's like a little machine, right? Stuff goes in, something comes out, and there's an assumption on a lot of people's parts, sometimes myself included, that the thing that comes out is like, that's the answer. That's 42, right? That's the answer. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, it depends what it's taken in to give that answer, because it's the stuff that is taken in was never that great. And the
Yeah.
stuff coming out isn't exactly gospel, but
Yeah.
it went through the machine, so it's got to be kind of thing.
Yeah.
So how do you know, I guess that, let's say in the example of the headline, how do you know that like that's the one? It
Yeah.
came out of the AI machine, so we know it's the one.
Yeah. Again, I mean, it's just a tool. I saw this post today that said that people are using GP chat to get you different Twitter threads or tweets. And you can do that, that's fine, but I didn't know this. You can actually be very specific and say, give me tweets that are funny based on this summary. Give me tweets that are maybe not funny, but maybe have a logical reason or something based on this. So like the more specific you give it, it will actually churn out something based on the query that you're asking for.
All
But
right.
I think the bottom line is that it's really up to you to either ask the right questions or still do your own research and not just rely on the tool.
Oh, you raised a very interesting point there about asking a better question. I suppose that goes in life as well. It's almost universally every relationship, whether with AI or a human, ask a better question to get a better answer.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love it. Eric, you've worked at a lot of places, seen a lot of things. What is some of your life advice that you'd love to share with people? Entrepreneurs specifically, but we can have fun with whatever you want.
Yeah. I think the advice that I give is that, and I'm talking from having launched a few different businesses that have been, I guess you would say, failures, right? I
Okay.
tried launching,
Happens.
it happens, at least 3 or 4, different failed businesses, but the couple of things that I've been really successful at are things that I felt were really core to who I am as a person, and so the whole cliche is like, you got to do something that you're passionate about. It is true. I mean, for example, when I launched a kids nonprofit, it was the first kids fitness program to utilize fitness trackers. And so I'd give different classrooms these fitness trackers, and I'd have classrooms compete against one another, seeing as
Oh,
a team which classroom can generate more fitness moves than the other team over a certain amount of time. That gave me the best fulfillment out of anything I've ever done, right?
very cool.
And it was one of the projects that I had a lot of success in, but it was something that I was very, very passionate about, whereas other businesses that I've launched before, I felt like, oh, I know how to do that. I think I could, compete in that area. I think I could make some money. Not successful at all.
All
So
right.
I would just say, really try to find something. And if you don't know what that is yet, then that means that, you still need to experiment and explore and try other things. I mean, it takes time to figure out, what is it that you're passionate about. You just can't just sit down one day and ask yourself that, and you've got no worldly experience.
No, especially, I guess
Mhm.
that's the challenge, right? Youth is wasted on the young kind of thing, where you have all the experience and now you're too old to do anything about it.
Yeah, it's a combination. You got to go out, try things, do things, immerse yourself in different jobs. I mean, you've had
Hmm.
a lot of different jobs. I think I've had, I don't know, I would probably say maybe 15 or 20 different jobs. The first one, at the age of 14. So I feel like I think I know who I am. I know what I'm good at. And so
Hmm.
I'm already at the age where I'm not going to go dive into something and I know that, hey, I'm not that passionate about this, or it's just, my talent is not really, meant for that. Whereas, being a podcast host or maybe leading a workshop, talking to people, building relationships, getting to know people, that's stuff that I'm good at. And so if it's something to deal with that, then that's something that I can really excel in, whether it's related to work or outside of work.
Fair, totally fair. Tell me really quick, your podcast. What is it? Title?
Yeah, it's called Innovators Can Laugh. And so we basically hear about the ups and downs of European startups. And I try to do it in a fun and casual coffee-like chat, try to have a little bit of fun along the way. A lot of these startup founders, English is not their first language. And so they're a little bit hesitant in coming on. They're afraid that, maybe their accent, that it won't be understood, or because they're not a big company yet, it's like their first time coming onto a podcast. So I really try to make it very friendly, very leisurely, and a lot of fun. And I think a lot of the guests have had a good time, and it's become one of the podcasts to listen to if you're interested in European startups.
Yeah, that has got to be one of the coolest names of a podcast I've ever heard.
I, I,
Innovators Can Laugh. That's genius.
I think it's funny. I mean, I asked some of my job is really to make them feel good, make them feel comfortable, and if it takes starting off with some crazy questions like, what's a dish that your partner likes but you really dislike, because I think everybody, what is your partner, your girlfriend or wife eat, James, that you don't like? Because there's got to be something, right?
She will eat anything not healthy in front of her for breakfast. Like
Okay.
chips, candy bar. I don't know how she's not 500 pounds. It
Yeah.
just blows my mind because it's
Yeah.
one of those and the joke is, oh, what did she say? She even had ice cream once, and she's like, "Ice cream for breakfast? Who is your mother?" It's one of those things. Like, what in the world? And I
Yeah.
just, from a health standpoint, I just can't. I can't. Won't eat ice cream for breakfast.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm on vacation, maybe I'll try it. But yeah, I typically wouldn't eat ice cream for
Yeah.
breakfast. But
So,
but that's better than liver though. See, my wife eats liver, and I won't touch it.
our dog loves liver. I
I
don't.
mean, yeah. And when she was giving it to my son for the first time, I was like secretly cheering for him to like spit it out and throw
Oh,
it in her
funny.
face. You know?
Oh, I can remember my parents making liver for us, and to them, they loved it. But to me, I'm like, this is the most disgusting stuff in the world.
Yeah.
And I joke now, I'm like, the depression is over. We don't have to eat the organs. We can eat the meat.
Yeah.
It's just their organs can be for hot dogs or something like that. We don't need to pretend anymore.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
doing all right. We're doing all right. So it's not 1929. Eric, I gotta wrap this up because we want to fit it in the show. We gotta wrap it up. So how can people find you?
Yeah, so OptiMonk.com. That's the best place to learn more about OptiMonk.com. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm on LinkedIn. Just look for Eric Melchor on LinkedIn.
All right. Awesome. We appreciate you being on the show, Eric.
Thank you, James. Pleasure being here.
This is awesome. Oh, one more thing. Where can people find your podcast?
Innovators Can Laugh. If you just want to search for it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or even on YouTube, Innovators Can Laugh.
All right, perfect. This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We're locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. If you're listening or watching this on the web, if you could do us a huge favor, you know what I'm going to ask, right? Thumbs up, subscribe, but most importantly, comment and share the news about your entrepreneurship, your podcast, and of course, your marketing on your website, because that's the thing, right? Nothing happens till a sale's made. My name is James Kateman, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Eric Melchor of OptiMonk. Eric, can you tell us that website one more time?
OptiMonk.com.
Easy enough, right? Super cool. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night. The podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.